Hello, friends on the internet. I wanted to share my experience as a brand new reseller on eBay. I thought it would be fun to go over a summary of my very first month reselling on eBay and share what my experience is like for anyone else who is considering doing this as a side hustle part-time in 2026. I was laid off from one of my part-time jobs earlier this year, and around that same time, one of my coworkers at one of my jobs that I still have just casually mentioned that she makes around $20,000 every year reselling things on eBay. And my jaw nearly hit the floor. I couldn't believe it. I have sold my own things on eBay that I wanted to get rid of casually since I think probably around 2008 or 2009. I've bought things on eBay since around that time as well. I had a phase in college where I bought a lot of shoes on eBay. But I've never seriously sold things with the aim of making a profit. I've only ever sold things to just get them out of my house and get them out of my life. So when my coworker said she made that much money, it blew my mind. And then my other coworker was telling a story about how someone that she knew has a full-time business reselling on eBay and lives off of that. And so I thought, okay, this is gonna be my solution to make up for the loss of my other part-time job that I was laid off from. So I started researching online, trying to figure out, how do I do this? What is the strategy? What is the plan? So I thankfully discovered Justin Resells here on YouTube. He is an amazing resource. I have found his videos so helpful. Thank you, Justin. And I decided to follow. He made a video in January of his 1-year plan as a new reseller on eBay to get you from $0, zero sales at the beginning of the year to around $25,500 in net profits by the end of the year, which is even more than my coworker was making. So I thought, great, I'm gonna follow this plan. I'm gonna do what he says to do. I'm gonna soak up all his knowledge and try to have a part-time eBay business. So my first month, in Justin's plan, he recommends your first month to mostly try just selling things that you have around your own home that you want to get rid of, as well as sourcing things from garage sales, estate sales, thrift stores, all of the things like that. But he said definitely, look around your house, see what you can sell, look it up on eBay, see if anyone's buying it. So that's what I tried to do. And his goal that he sets for your first month, he was doing it January through December. I started in February. I didn't start this in January. So February 2026 was my month 1. So in his system, for month 1, your goal is to list one item on eBay every day of the month. And your goal is to sell one of those items and to make around $14. So I listed one item on eBay every single day in February, and I ended up exceeding those goals. So rather than just selling one item, I sold 11 of the 28 that I listed. So that's 10 more than the goal. And then rather than making $14, I made $159.08. So that is more than $145 more than the goal for my net profits after shipping expenses, the costs of inventory, the costs of packaging, those sorts of things. So I feel like I did very well for my first month as an eBay reseller. I was mostly selling things from my own home, as Justin recommended. So for those things, there was not a cost to purchase the item because I already owned it. So that definitely helped my profits because I wasn't paying anything to buy a lot of the items that I was selling. I already had them around the house. But I think for a first month, I did pretty well and I'm very proud of myself. So I thought it'd be fun to talk through what did I sell? What were those 11 things on eBay to give you some ideas of things that you might be able to sell that you have around your home or that you find while out thrifting. So in February, my very first sale was a California Raisins figurine to look like a famous pianist, Ray Charles. You can see that here. And I didn't even buy it. I got it at an estate sale. It was the last day of the estate sale, the last hour of the estate sale. I bought some other items for myself that I just wanted to keep. I got a cute cookie cutter and a Halloween pumpkin and some other things. But I also brought up this California Raisins, and the guy just let me take it. He said I could have it for free. He didn't make me pay for it from the estate sale. So I got that California Raisins for free. And I sold it. Oh, I need to find I should have had my little sheet ready to go here, like a prepared YouTuber. I am not a prepared YouTuber. I have it somewhere. Where is my sheet? Okay, I sold that, and I'm just gonna say the net profits, because what you spend on shipping and what you spend on eBay fees, you don't get that money. So I'm talking about what I earned is the money I actually made, the net profit, the take home. So I got $9.80 for my California Raisin. The next thing I sold was a USB microphone that I had in my own home. I already owned it. I used it for many years. I upgraded to a higher quality microphone. Note, I am not using that microphone for this video. I'm just using the microphone built into my phone. But upstairs I have a very fancy voiceover microphone. So this was my sort of starter microphone when I was just starting out studying voiceover. And I sold that and made $91.47. I actually did not sell that one on eBay. I sold that one on Sweetwater, which is specifically for music, audio, sound related gear, equipment, that kind of thing. So I would recommend, if you have very specialized niche items, eBay is great for everything, but if you know there is a marketplace where a very specific buyer will be looking for a specific item, list it on that marketplace instead. So for audio gear, Sweetwater, very much recommend them. Excellent business. The next thing I sold for $36.28 was a pair of shoes that I bought for myself. They were these 5-finger Vibram shoes. I bought them as part of a Hobbit costume to look like the bare feet of a Hobbit. And for me personally, for my feet, I found them incredibly, incredibly painful. I could not wear them. I could not walk in them. They hurt my feet. So I resold those on eBay. My next sale was the first one that I actually bought at an estate sale, that I paid for at an estate sale. I bought this beautiful vintage Vera Newman scarf. Unfortunately, I did not inspect it closely enough. When you are buying used items from garage sales, estate sales, thrift stores, you have to really, really inspect them. I learned my lesson. I just looked at it. I saw the brand. I knew the designer. I thought it was beautiful. I bought it. I didn't look closely at it. Unfortunately, the scarf had 3 sort of patches on it where it looked like it had gotten bleach on it. So the color was faded in the pattern. So I had to sell it for a really low price. I only made $4.03 on this beautiful vintage scarf. If it had not been damaged, I could have made a lot more than that, but it did sell. The buyer gave me great feedback and she was so happy with it, even with the damage. So it went to a new and loving home, which makes me very happy, but I did not make a lot of profit because I spent more on it thinking it would sell for more and not noticing that damage. The next thing I sold, I hardly made any profit. Another lesson learned. One of the places where I work was getting rid of a lot of books, and I said, oh, I'll take them. And so I took all these old books and I tried to sell those online. I sold them through 2 different marketplaces, not on eBay. I used BooksRun and World of Books, and I made so little money. For the one lot from BooksRun, I made 8 cents. And then for the other lot of books at World of Books, I made $2.42 for a huge, I packed this huge box of books. And I did include 2 books of my own in there as well that I wanted to sell. But it was a lot of effort of looking up the books and entering them in and packing them and shipping them. And the profit was so low for the amount of work. I did get all of the books for free, so the profit was all profit. But unless you just have books that you get for free or books of your own that you want to get rid of, I feel like selling books is a no. I'm not going to be seeking books out as something to resell just because the profit is so low. But lesson learned. I learned that. Next up, I sold, this one was from my coworker. She told me that people buy hangers online, like hangers that you hang your clothes on from designer brands without the clothes, just the hanger. And that blew my mind. Why would somebody pay money for a hanger? You know, that doesn't seem something valuable to me. But she said people will buy these designer brand hangers, just the plain hanger without the clothing. So then I was thinking, well, do I have any, you know, designer things like that I didn't have any hangers, but maybe I had something else that people would want to buy. And I used to have this really cute pair of Prada sunglasses, and I lost the sunglasses, unfortunately, and they were really expensive and beautiful, and I was really sad when I lost them. I left them at our local farmer's market somewhere, probably on someone's booth next to their tomatoes or something, and they were gone forever. But I had the box that the sunglasses came in, and I thought maybe somebody would buy that, and they did. I sold this box, an empty box. It just says Prada on it, an empty Prada box, no sunglasses, no sunglasses case, just the box. And I sold it to someone in Canada. So they paid to ship it all the way to Canada. So that was my first international sale. And I did not make a lot of money on it, but considering it was an empty box that I considered actual trash, it sold for $7.39 for this empty box. So my trash is their treasure. Look around your house, see what things you have that you think are trash. Somebody might want to buy them. Brilliant. The next thing I sold was my first sale from a thrift store from our local Salvation Army. I got a Cuisinart blade from a Cuisinart food processor. It was in the box. The box has been open, but it was in the original box. It looked brand new. It looked like it had never been used. And Justin Resells actually said in one of his videos that I saw after this that he never sells Cuisinart blades because some of them have been recalled. I actually had one that was recalled, so I know about that. But this one, I looked it up on the Cuisinart website, and they're selling them now, this model number. So I was assuming it's not recalled because they are actively selling them. So hopefully it's safe. So I sold this Cuisinart blade, and I made $27.10. So I thought that was a great sale. The next thing I sold was actually a commission for my mom. She was getting rid of some designer boots, and I just took those to the Real Real. We have a local Real Real location, and they do all the work for you. They take all of the pictures, they list it, they come up with the pricing, you just drop it off. That means you make a lot less percentage of the profit than you do on eBay when you do all that work yourself. You are paying them basically to take your photos, to create the listing, to research the pricing, to lower the price if you need to lower the price. You are paying them to do it for you. And because this was on commission for my mom, we were splitting the profit 50-50. So on these boots, I made $16.20. And then my last sale of the month, I was talking to my aunt that I was starting to do reselling, and she said that one of her neighbors has a booth in a local antique mall where he sells glass items. And so I had this vase that my dad gave me as a present that just doesn't really go with the style of my house. It was a beautiful vase, but it just doesn't fit with the aesthetic of my new home where I'm living now. And so I sold that vase to my aunt's neighbor for him to resell in his booth at the antique mall. So he gave me cash for that. I didn't have to list it or take photos or anything because it was going into his booth, and I sold him that glass vase for $45. So those were all of my sales for my first month in February. I hope that is helpful for you guys about the kind of things you might be able to sell that you have lying around your own house or that you can thrift. And to go back to my amazing, I'm using Justin Resell's software, Flipwise, to keep track of my profits. And it is so helpful because you could enter in all of your costs. You put in, what you spent on the items, what you spent on shipping, anything you sold off of eBay, and then it automatically connects to your eBay and it includes all the profits that you made on eBay. It is amazing. I highly recommend it, and it keeps everything so organized. So I'm using Flipwise, so you can look at your statement for the month from Flipwise, and that'll show you exactly all of the numbers. So for my first month, my total revenue was $459.49. I spent $83.14 on buying inventory. As you can tell from this video, most of the things I sold were things from my house and not a lot of those things that I bought. So hopefully those will sell in future months. And then I paid $145.98 in marketplace fees. So that was eBay, and then also The RealReal, also Sweetwater, and also those book reselling marketplaces. And then I spent $25.05 on shipping. And then I also spent $46.24 on commissions and supplies. So that was my mom's half of the boots that I sold for my mom. So that was included in that. And then I also bought some bubble mailers and some packing tape and things like that for shipping. And then my total take-home net income was $159.08. For month one, I'm feeling really good about that. I'm feeling hopeful about continuing to build this as a little side business, and I am looking forward to month two. All right, thank you all so much and happy selling. Bye.